Hello and welcome to the video of today. Today I've thought I make a test with 3 different papers. It's my favorite pastel paper, Pastelmat from Clairefontaine, and then I also compare the Canson Mi-Teintes and the Fabriano Tiziano paper. They are 3 different pastel papers, and I have thought I'd try how it works on them to draw a bit of fur. So let's start. Just wait a second before we start. I invite you to join my upcoming 3 days drawing workshop. It's free. It takes place from December 4th to December 6th, and we will draw this beautiful blue cat eye together and a dog nose and fur. You can find the link for the workshop below in the description. I would love to see you there.
Hi, I have here 2 different pastel papers. It's here Canson Mi-Teintes pastel paper. This one is Fabriano Tiziano pastel paper, and this is Pastelmat from Clairefontaine. I must say my absolute favorite pastel paper is Pastelmat from Clairefontaine. This one I always draw on this. It has a velvety surface, it is perfect for realistic animal portraits, and it allows a lot of layers. You can draw here up to 20 layers, you can draw with lights over darks, and this paper is really perfect for drawing your realistic animal portraits in pastels. Here we have also, so I have chosen gray papers here, the Canson Mi-Teintes pastel paper. This has a little bit of a more smoother but also a bit of rough paper surface. And the Fabriano Tiziano pastel paper, it's also smoother with a bit of a structure, but it's not so velvety like the Pastelmat. And I want to try here to draw a bit of fur on all 3 paper versions. And I want to show you how much better Pastelmat paper is for drawing realistic fur animals, really for pastel drawings. These 2 papers are nice for painting with pastels. But Pastelmat is my absolute favorite paper, and I would like to show you here the difference. So let's test it out. Let's try to draw a curl of fur on all 3. So I try to draw a curl of fur now with brown. So let's start here on the Canson Mi-Teintes paper, and let's try to draw here let's bring in here with a pit pastel pencil a bit of hair of fur, so I draw it here so downwards. It's possible here to apply the pastel pigment, but I have a high color abrasion, so I have here loose pastel pigment very quickly. That is not going into the paper. I see here the structure of the paper showing through, so there are these little areas where I see the indents of the paper because it's a bit rough. It has a very rough structure, and when I apply here with middle pressure the pigment, then the paper color is shining through. Let's do this also on the Fabriano Tiziano. Here it is the same. The burnt sienna of the pink pastel pencils appear here much darker. Here it's more so reddish orange brown, and here it's more a dark brown. When I apply here my base layer, the rough structure of the paper is shining through. I really don't like that. I'm used to a smooth color base layer under painting. So here we have the base layer on the Fabriano. Then let's apply with same amount of pressure here the base layer on Pastelmat, and you immediately see here the difference, how smooth this first layer is, and you can move the pencil so upwards and downwards, and you have here a nice smooth base layer before blending. So when I go here upwards and downwards with the same amount of pressure, nothing changed. I always have these gray holes of the paper here between, and here it's the same on the Canson. It's a bit better in my opinion here. When I add more layers, these gray stains disappear when I apply a little bit more pigment. Here it stays. I would have to increase the pressure here that these dots disappear. But when I swipe over here with the same amount of pressure, nothing happens. Here a little bit, and here you can really with the same amount of pressure add another layer and add more color. Then let's try blending this. Take a paper stamp. You can blend it here everywhere and create here a very nice fading, but the pigment does not stick on the paper. Then blend over the Fabriano Tiziano pastel paper. When I do it here and I blend over, it's also the same. I only move the pastel, so the blending stamp over the paper, and I smear the pigment over this whole paper. So I smear it over. I can let it fade out, but it's not a good feeling. I just smear all the pigment. I have loose pastel dust on the paper. The pastel pigment is not sticking on the paper. It's more loose pastel dust everywhere, and I see a lot of the structure of the paper here. And then let's blend here on the Pastelmat, and you see how nice this is working. The pastel pigment is sticking in the paper. There is no loose pastel dust on the paper. I can really blend over here really very well, and when I blend it a bit into the surrounded areas here, I can also create a nice blurry area here, but I don't have this smeary feeling, so that all the pastel pigment here smears even in the first base layer. You can also take a cotton swab here and swipe over and make it here, create a nice smooth base layer. It's working here to create a faded background, but you must think this is only the first base layer. Then let's add here brown lines. I have added here with dark sepia brown crossing lines with a little amount of pressure. This is working here. They are showing up. There are dark lines. Here they are a bit darker on the Fabriano Tiziano than on the Canson, and on the Pastelmat this is working really well. They are dark, they are thin, they are small. Here they are smoother, here it is rougher. Then let's go over with a lighter color. Let's take ivory and let's try to add here lighter colors, a layer with a lighter color on top. It is working a bit here. On the Canson Mi-Teintes, the lines are showing up with light pressure. It is possible to draw with light over dark here. And then on the next, on the Fabriano Tiziano, this layer is also working when you work with low pressure. But I have a bit of a smeary feeling, so after the third layer the lines start to smear here a bit. Then here it's more a scratchy feeling on the Pastelmat paper, and a line you can really draw with a light hand, nice, very thin lines. You can move the pencil a bit quicker and let these fine lines cross. Here when I use this very little amount of pressure, I can create fine lines, but they are not showing up so well. And here, yes, it is also working, but lines and colors are starting to smear and smudge and mix together. Let's then add another layer. Let's bring in orange brown then. What's happened here is that the light lines are disappearing when I draw another layer over it. And you see here, the lines are disappearing. This is the fourth layer. Let's test it here out on the Fabriano. Here it is the same. The layers are starting to mix and smear when I go here over. So forwards and backwards, the lines that I have drawn before disappear. So when you draw over, all the layers you have created before are smudging and mixing together. When you do this on the Pastelmat paper, you can draw over the lines you have drawn before. You can so swipe over gently and the lines stay. You just color them a bit orangey. When you do this here, they disappear and the colors smear and smudge together. When you do this here, all the colors smear and smudge together. Here they stay. The paper is, the feeling is more a bit scratchy. Here it's so smearing and smudging. And here you can just color these light lines. Then let's do another layer with white. Let's go over with white again. You can create again a layer with light pressure and white. When you use more pressure, everything starts to smear and smudge, and you get these dots or these stains of the paper. When you use low pressure, this is working. Here let's also add another layer. It feels a bit smeary and smudgy. When you use more pressure, the lines start to smear. Here with fine lines, it is working again to draw some fine lines on top. Here with low pressure on the Pastelmat. Here it is working on Pastelmat with fine lines. When I use more pressure, I can add a bit thicker lines, but they are not starting to smear and smudge. Here they are starting to smear and smudge, and here it's the same. So I must say here the difference is really very big. So I definitely prefer the Pastelmat paper from Clairefontaine. The test was worth it to use Canson Mi-Teintes pastel paper and also Fabriano Tiziano pastel paper to test it out. I also don't like the texture of these both. They are so rough. They have this structure, and the Pastelmat is so velvety. And another advantage is Pastelmat paper, it is not necessary to use a fixative. The pigment sticks so well on the paper. Here you would have to use a spray. Okay, so I hope this test of these three papers was helpful for you.
So I hope you liked this test, this comparison of the 3 different papers. For me, it's clear. My absolute favorite paper for animal portraits in pastels is the Pasterlmat paper from Clairefontaine. It allows a lot of layers. The pastel pigment sticks so well on the paper. You don't need a fixative. You can bring in so much depth and contrast into your portrait with all these layers. It allows us to draw. So definitely invest in this Pastelmat paper. Don't use other papers. So you will be frustrated when you draw on other papers. I highly recommend to use the Pastelmat from Clairefontaine. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like it, then click the subscribe button. And finally, I invite you again to join my free drawing workshop. It's a drawing workshop where we draw a blue cat eye together and a dog nose and fur. You can find all the description in the link below. And yes, I would love to see you there.